Okay, so my name is Patricia Gilligan. That's my name, and that's my birth name. Now, I say that in a way that makes it sound as though what is human and all this sort of thing. Well, it doesn't really matter what a human is. You just need to know for a fact that you are the subject of a human, what you could call, I suppose some people have said, a human experiment. Now that just simply means that you're not living a normal, natural human existence while you're in Earth, because you are in what we call a matrix, which means a totally controlled environment by other beings. Now, whether you think these other beings are just very important or elite other human beings, in other words, those that have positions of power, influence, and the ability to control natural resources, everything that a human needs to survive, and actually create the physical city around you. Now, we know that a city is created, and we know that it's an unnatural environment in the sense that it is a controlled city system. But we, as humans, if you are human and not one of what I call the others, that means those that work or are part of the patrol city system, which most people will be, either consciously or even in some rarer cases, probably unconsciously, if you are a human being that is, a natural, normal human being, but if you are surrounded by unnatural, coercive, psychopathic types of humans, because a psychopath, if it is in large numbers, as it is in most cities, that's just the psychology of a different species. That's the main point that I'm trying to get at, even though I'm probably not showing it very well. The Matrix movies show all these truths and the reality much clearer. When I say the Matrix movies, I mean the movies that are designed and produced and put out there by the others, by those species of human beings, or a species that comes in a human form, but it's the equivalent of a psychopath in a human body, because it isn't human. It doesn't have humanity. The things that I would class as human, and so would you, that you just think are normal human traits and the way a human being would perhaps desire to live, that is the reverse of, say, a psychopath, because a psychopath is devoid of humanity, we're told this. And you see this when occasionally they're exposed and their very dark, cold attitude towards life becomes apparent. What I'm trying to say is that the magic movies of the Matrix, because they're magic in the sense that you think that they're not the reality, when in reality these beings put out the truth and their true reality and even their true identity in many cases in many movies. In fact, all movies are movies of the producers of the Matrix, or all movie producers and everyone involved is a component of the matrix, or in other words, they work and operate solely and function solely for the matrix, or to control the human mind. Because when you watch a movie, it's about getting you to believe and watch that movie. So that takes over your mind. Whether you think this is good or bad is a different point. But, you know, whenever I watch a movie, I get consumed by the movie. If I watch it and engage with it. Obviously, there are some things of the Matrix, or even the Matrix movie industry, or the Matrix movie mind control setup productions. Basically, they have different movies, just as they have many different controllers of Earth and many different demigods, which all work and operate and function for control of the human mind. Because Earth is really, unfortunately, if you're a human, it's actually about controlling your mind and controlling your environment, controlling your actions, but basically limiting you very much as a human being, so that they can study you and basically get what they want and seem to need from a human being. Because they are a different species, let's just say, how can you describe it? I've said it before, but many others say it too. It's the difference between dark and light. It's the difference between hot and cold. It's the difference between warmth and a deadness. In comparison, just as a psychopath is dead to its humanity. And these beings are your psychopaths. It's just that if you look at it at a more intellectual level, shall we say, or even just at a more real level, or even if you eventually come to accept, like I do, that I'm surrounded by very massive advanced technology, camouflaged as lesser technology and lesser control and lesser a false environment. Because naturally everything looks real to me and everything is solid and real, just as I'm solid and real. But it's only when you realize how much your mind and body is being controlled and therefore manipulated, because it's not a control that you consciously agree to, and you certainly, once you realize that it's not positive for you, you certainly wouldn't accept it, because it's not like where they say, oh well, this rule or this restriction is for your benefit, for your survival. No, it's for the other survival, not for human survival. That's the problem with it. And the others, which are essentially totally self-serving, totally self-survival machine beings, basically they don't want to combine with humanity to benefit humanity. They want to combine and suppress the human mind and control the human mind for their survival, but not for humanity's survival, because humanity doesn't need all that control and doesn't need technology for its survival. But you will be conditioned and coerced into thinking that it is, that it will benefit you, that it is necessary even, because that's why we have, like in my life, a very closed environment. You only become aware of this when everything turns on you, when the reverse world does reverse round and show its true colours. This is when you start to realise the different nature of the human species, or in other words, the different nature of the different nature and the different personality of different human beings. But like we're told, a psychopath is not really human, even though it comes in human form. That's the best way I can describe the difference between different species that are basically coexisting at the moment and have coexisted for a long, long time. It's just that, like myself, they haven't exposed their true identity or their true nature or what they really are until, the end of my life. So but I have been kept in the dark all my life. Now I'm just going to make this point, and if the Matrix doesn't stop the video, I'll just say that, like, I was watching a Matrix movie review of a movie called Dark City, which I only saw about 6 months ago for the first time, even though it had been recommended to me for a number of years, but I wasn't able to watch it. Now, at first I got it, but didn't fully understand it. But because I'm slow, so I'm slow in analysing things. But when I do get it, I get it. But usually I have to only get it by relating it to my own personal experience. Otherwise, I will probably not fully understand it. It's a bit like in the Matrix movie. The Matrix's Matrix movie about itself in a way, because it just shows how human beings are manipulated and controlled in their environment, that basically their environment is all about controlling the human mind, and therefore you believe that the environment that they've created for you by controlling your mind is real. But it's not an environment that you would consciously create for your own benefit, because it's actually the environment that the Matrix others want. In other words, you could say they're a different species in our species human body. So that's like saying that I've said this before, it's like saying that you have a particular animal species, supposing you have, say, an elephant. But most elephants behave a certain way, they operate a certain way, they think a certain way, they're an elephant. A human being is a human being, an elephant is an elephant. But what if you put, a better example might be, okay, let's say a snake, let's say a deadly spider, let's say something that is venomous to a human being, something that needs to extract something from a human being in order for its survival, or even if it, like a snake, will put its venom into a human being and render the human being dead or, incapacitated by that venom, because the snake is frightened and sees the human being as a threat. So we'll use those examples where, because it's exactly the same thing. Basically, you have a snake in a human body. In other words, you have a different species that has put its mind or its way of being into a human body so that it camouflages itself. Now, this is also something that someone told me about a while back, that many species do camouflage themselves as being the same as the species that they want to attack. In other words, the predator pretends to be the same as the prey. That means that the one that wants to attack the other one pretends to be the same as the other one. So you have human beings that all look human, but many of those humans are not human. They're like psychopaths in a human body, and the psychopath believes that it needs to control the human mind and control the human body in order for its survival. And we're told this about the nature and the mindset now, in recent times. It's all a camouflage, but we're told this about the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, personality disordered human beings. This is merely telling you the truth, but not telling you 100% the whole truth. But it's still telling you that you have a different mind in an apparently innocent human body. That's all I'm trying to say. So, and they will actually tell you that these malignant, narcissistic, paranoid, controlling, personality disordered human beings do nothing in life and basically focus all their attention on getting energy from a human being and in controlling a human being. So does not that sound like a parasitic, psychopathic, different species in a human body? I mean, like, if you really, as I've done over the last many years, because I became aware of what my environment was and my interactions with other humans, it became apparent that I was dealing and giving my energy and giving my information, giving all my thoughts and ideas and even and every bit of attention to basically parasitic, psychopathic, self-serving machine beings. That's just a fancy description of it, but essentially they're about extracting and imitating everything that is you in order for their survival, while suppressing and draining you of your natural life and your natural human energy. And as you know, we're told that everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and these beings, these human beings that are really psychopathic types in a human body, but they are an artificial life form. So they actually are a totally different species, but because they need to mimic and imitate human beings in order to infiltrate their line, shall we say. It's like saying in the old Matrix movies, you have to infiltrate the enemy lines, and for them, the enemy lines is humanity. They have to infiltrate the human mind. They see the human mind as the enemy of them, but also something that they need and want to capture and control for their survival, at the expense of a human being being trapped in their cyborg matrix reality, which is exactly what I'm trapped in. So it's very much like the movie Dark City, and I actually said that I am trapped in a dark city because I'm aware that the city of Sydney is controlled by everyone, and everything seems to be part of this city system, and it's everywhere you go. It's every construction, it's every person on the street. They're all in unison, combining to always take over my senses. That's what you would call stalking, and that's how I became aware of it, because when the entire suburb started stalking me, and I was aware also that it was more than the entire suburb, because the numbers were more than the 15,000 that are supposed to be in the suburb of Leichhardt. I then became aware when they were showing me the reality, and also just the fact that they will tell you that the inner west section of the city of Sydney is a combined council or a combined group of everyone. In other words, all the all the different productions that take place, all the work that takes place, all the construction, all the supplying of everything is basically covered by this council, which is like many suburbs. So you're looking at many 100,000 people. And this happened over the last 10 years, which is exactly when the Matrix patrollers, the Matrix stalkers, but that's just a nice word for saying that these are particular types of human beings that have all combined to stalk and patrol. It's like, you know, many 100,000 stalkers becoming obsessed with a particular person, and they want to stalk and control that person's life. But see, that's how you know that it's a city system and that there is a different species at play here, because it wouldn't make sense for me to be saying that I'm stalked by 100,000 people. That would make it very unrealistic. So you would have to see it from a conspiracy standpoint, that these beings don't know you, because they can't, but they know what they want from you. So they don't want a relationship, but they want an interaction, but that interaction is merely what they do. They stalk, they take your energy, they drain the life out of you, and they study and won't leave you out of their sight for a few seconds even, hardly sometimes. They're always watching, there's always a patroller around, there's always a plane going over just as it went over now. There's always construction going on, staged around you, so that they're always got their sights on you. It looks all random and natural, but it's not random and natural when, as you walk just along a block, you have always some construction. You always have so-called random normal people walking in and out of their houses. You always have vehicles aggressively pulling out in front of you. You know, and it becomes very theatrical and staged when you actually watch it too. But if someone just saw one incident, it doesn't look particularly patrolling. But when you have these incidences taking place all along any route you walk, every single day of the week, every single day of the year, then coincidence is thrown out the window. And also, it wouldn't make sense, the numbers for the area, because if you have like more people on the street, that would be realistic for the number that supposedly habitate the area. That would not make sense. But it's very difficult to show exact numbers when they're actually in a continual stalking patrol system around you. So it's not like you have a massive 100,000 come at you at one go, but it's always continual. In other words, it's non-stop, but it's not the whole lot. That way it still drains you of the same amount of energy, because these entities are all combined, just like in the movie Dark City. They combine, just as we have now been told that there are many community stalking systems that openly watch particular people and just watch the suburb or watch the community. And in the area where I live, even before I became aware of this continual stalking patrol system that is always watching, always got the surveillance, always tracking you, before this was shown to me openly, in other words, when it was covert and hidden, because I wasn't aware of the nature of some human beings. Because it was only when I became aware that most human beings that I was interacting with were not human, or were of a psychopathic, narcissistic, personality disordered mind. And they call that narcissistic personality disorder. It's called malignant narcissistic personality disorder, when it means that their whole existence is just about being paranoid about controlling, particularly normal, natural human beings. And that just simply means any human being that strives for any form of happiness. You only have to smile at these beings, and it causes a great attraction to them, but also a great repulsion, or a great need eventually to suppress and control you and to imitate you. Because don't forget, there is always the fear, because they're in a human environment, because they're survival machine beings, as the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, paranoid, personality disordered human is. These beings, continuously need to watch you. They continuously are drawn to you originally by your so-called light, because they are dark beings or psychopathic beings. And they're drawn to the light because that shows them, in other words, the minute they see that you're a real human and not, like themselves. This also would depend on the city systems. But I can't speak on this because I know that they all combine. So theoretically speaking, it's much more likely that they know that you're a human from the minute you come into the area. But while they think that you are under the illusion of the matrix, in other words, under the illusion of the idea that everything around you is random and natural, and while you are limited as a human being, in other words, also while, like myself, where you're not living much of a life, where you're not very happy, and while you are staying in a relatively enclosed area, which is where they can congregate and watch around you and keep you suppressed and limited while they observe you, because they want to understand the human mind, evidently, like in the Matrix movie Dark City, and indeed the Matrix movie production about the basically totally set up and controlled reality or environment that is completely set up and controlled around every real human. The only difference between me and maybe some others is that I was not aware of it most of my life, but I became aware of it 7 years ago. And even just before that, but it was 7 years ago that the beings around me converged around me, set up a total patrol system around me. And it wasn't just a surveillance patrol system, it was a suppression patrol system, which is the main reason that I object to it, because it's not just that they've got every vehicle on the road coming into your presence, but they do it in a negative, very suppressive manner, to where you feel low frequency and vibration, or angry and unhappy. And of course, this is also part of their knowledge, that they understand that, as we're told, you have to piece all these things together, that everything is frequency and vibration and energy. So in other words, everything that's real is frequency, vibration and energy. The energy is the matter. Everything that I see, everything, the gloves on my hand are matter, energy. And frequency and vibration is kind of like the energy that you receive, which affects your mind, and the energy you give out. What I receive is what I probably give out, and what I'm receiving is being surrounded by, at a real level, you could say that I'm being surrounded by psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, paranoid, controlling beings in human form. If you want to say that they're human beings that have been tormented and disturbed so much by their upbringing and their environment, like most humans have, that they have lost their humanity, that is fine too, because at least you will still understand why your reality is so negative and why you are being transformed into a negative, unhappy human being, and you're not allowed to live a happy life. But if you really understand that it's literally where they're, like in the movie Dark City Matrix, where literally they're controlling you wherever you go. They're trying to confine you to as many limited areas where they have the ability to fully suppress and control you. And that is if it's a real natural world. In other words, if you forget about the other reality, that the human thought creates reality, and therefore they're controlling the human mind in order to control the reality, in order to suppress the real humans. So they keep control of the human mind because they want possession of the human mind, because they believe that it will stop their species from going extinct. And as you can see, it's a necessary, desperate move on their part if you believe that. Because otherwise, why do you have these psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, paranoid, controlling human beings that focus nothing in their entire life except trying to control humanity? And the only reason they even become intimate and connect with human beings is for that purpose, but also to get the information so that they can imitate and copy the human being, so that they can seduce and influence other real human beings that are basically in the dark about this, or that will believe that they're a real human being, exposing the truth, exposing and trying to take that human being out of the dark into the light. Because many, of course, the entire internet is nothing but a camouflaged control system of the human mind. The internet and the android beings, because I say that they're android beings because they lack humanity. So an android is basically you could say an android is artificially intelligent human, and that's the equivalent, and that is the reality. But because an artificially intelligent android human is the same as a psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, paranoid, controlling human being. They don't, I just have to explain these psychological things about it, because that just explains the difference between, how should I say, like the difference between the predatory snake that will put its venom into a human being if it needs to, in order for its protection of itself. And the main protection of these beings while they're operating in the Earth Matrix is to control the human mind and to camouflage the reality that they're not human, because most human beings will only go along with a cyborg reality, or incorporating technology into their mind consciously or willingly, if they think that they're inferior to technology and that technology can better them. And that, of course, is the name of the game. But when I realise myself that I have, that they have already incorporated their technology into my mind, and that they're trying to take over my mind by the use of microchips and implants, which science tells you that they have these things. And it's just that they're hoping to, I think, make humans think that if they have implants and microchips in them, that instead of using, like now, the computer or the mobile that I've got here, that will be more convenient if there's something, because now, see, the mark of the beast is the mark of, I'm just trying to be religious and spiritual here, but it's all the same thing, in a way. It's all reality. It's just that it depends on how far advanced you think the technology is and how the reality is deceiving you, or how much you think reality is really deceiving you, or how much you don't know. And it's all those things, probably, So if I'm using the mobile and I think the mobile is convenient, but I have to carry it around in my hand, if someone says to me, oh, I can put a microchip just into your hand or into your head, just instantly and quickly, because when they say microchip, they're not like big implants. They're like, like a pinhead, or might even be almost, I don't know, you'd have to check this at a scientific level, but they can make them as small as they want, probably. And so it would seem like an advantage and a convenience, especially as we're now in the cyborg reality where you need to have the mobile with you all the time. Of course, someone like me, I don't. In fact, I can't even use it outside the place to go live or to talk to anyone or whatever. I'm lucky when I can record it even here. But that's because they only want people to be using technology that are part of the system or that accept the system. But also maybe it wasn't even that with myself, because I wasn't actually given an offer to accept anything. They already understood that I understood that not all was what I would call human. And as you know, if you think that most people are like a psychopath, right, or a malignant, narcissistic personality controlling being, because that's what we're told these personality types are. It's just that you're not told that they combine with one another and they collaborate in communities and in cities, in large groups. You could use the word they become the whole community, because over time they make sure that human beings are segregated and separated. Like I know for a fact that the few human beings that used to live in this area, say 12 years ago, were deliberately forced out or coerced into moving away, so that I'm separate and they're separate from me. And if it was a real natural random earth, this wouldn't matter, because provided I'm not like in desperate need of human companionship, which I have always been isolated a lot of my life, and of course then if you encounter mainly narcissistic, psychopathic types of human beings in your personal relationships, that also makes you, have an aversion to deep, close human relationships, because most of your relatives turn out to not be your friends. In other words, those that are close to you usually turn out to be a secret enemy almost, because they don't want you to live your full life. They don't want you to be human and happy in your existence. And that is the case. That's the case. That's the reality for most human beings. So, I don't want to make it personal here, but that is what happens over a lifetime. And that is because these beings are serving this control matrix. Whether they're conscious or not, it doesn't matter. But most are conscious, and most combine consciously, at least in the city of Sydney. And I would think this would be the case very much so in cities, because in cities you have the structure and the communities and the industries, the councils, like the Inner West Council is a total army patrol control base around me. That I have no doubt, because they're always there. They always make their presence felt. They're always doing staged, set up, unnecessary work systems around me. They pull down every house one after the other in this small dead-end street. They dig up the road. They dig up the road and then replace it, then dig it up again, replace it, dig it up again on a weekly basis. They've always got these army operatives that are disguised literally as civilian work people or civilian council people, but they all wear the same outfit, which is exactly the same as letting me know, like when they're all in the one colour. They all wear the same uniform. In the past, when you go back far enough, even in this area, not everyone that worked on the buses wore the same colour. Not everyone that worked on the huge trucks and any service would all be wearing the same colour. No, but they do that now to show me that it is an army military type base centre, and that the bus service or the bus depot is really the centre of that army base. But the army base is not about protecting humanity. Unfortunately, it's about controlling humanity. So you have a reverse world and a reverse situation in this spiritual end time end game against humanity, where the army is on the streets everywhere, but the army is not about protecting its citizens or those that live in the area. It's about controlling a few real humans. And the only reason I say this is because why are there these groups and patrol systems surrounding, say, myself in this area? Why is Neighbourhood Watch, which is an open organisation, which means it watches your neighbours, why is every neighbour in Leichhardt watching me daily? But not just watching my house to see that it isn't, to see that it doesn't burn down or doesn't this or that. No, why are they following me all over the suburb? Why do they not let you out of your sight? Why is there always a vehicle parked watching you with its bright lights on, letting you know that it's stalking, watching, patrolling you? This could easily be shown even in a film. In other words, I could film it. But, you can't say to every car on the road that you can't pull in and park and sit there and watch someone with your bright headlights in their eyes. You can't tell drivers not to always make noise when they go past you in their vehicle. You can't tell the plane that's going over my roof right this very moment, which the mobile won't pick up, you can't tell that military plane not to go over my roof and not to go over my head wherever I go in this suburb. Even though I can consciously see that it changes its route if I'm even just on the next alley, shall we say. So if the route is always over my head, if I go outside and just go down the alley, just, on the next little street over there, which is not even that far, it will still go over my head because it wants to always make its presence felt. It wants me to know that I'm in a controlled environment and that I'm not a free individual human being. and that I'm not allowed to be that, because they understand the frequency and vibration situation. They know that they can control your mind and influence you, and and even change your environment around you. But the reason they do that, I think, is because they want to control your emotions. They want to control your frequency and vibration, which is the same thing. In other words, they always want to keep you in an unhappy state as opposed to a happy state, because in a happy state, a human being, I would think, becomes more independent and more powerful, and therefore they cannot control you as much. And also, they don't want you to combine with another human being, because, see, they're all combined in their minions. These are the legions of Lucifer, I call them, or the legions of the god that controls this matrix, or the god that controls Earth. Earth is an Earth matrix controlled by, a god entity, or the powers that be, if you don't want to take it to that kind of level. But either way, it's about controlling the human frequency and vibration, because when they control me and make me unhappy, when I'm stalked and patrolled and always got aggressive sounds and constructions and planes going over the roof, and always being watched, always being surveilled for no reason. In other words, like, even if you're doing absolutely nothing, their eyes are always on you. There's always someone or something that is using a vehicle, any form of technology, to watch you. But it's all a combined effort. See, when you have these beings that are psychopathic in nature, and they all combine together, then you have a massive surveillance system around you. Now, they want to make it so that I'm so low frequency and unhappy and so separated that I can't tell the difference between them, the others, or a psychopath, and a real human being. And if I did pass a real human being on the street, I will be so unhappy and low frequency that that human being wouldn't recognize me as a real human being. They would, or even, assuming they think that everything is just human, they would think, what an unhappy, depressed, negative human being. Whereas the others will be imitating me, so they will be smiling and happy, or at least pretending to be as real a human being as they can after studying and watching my actions and my normal state of being, whilst they're suppressing and keeping my natural higher frequency and vibration very low. Am I putting this right? Am I making... I know that I make sense, but whether I'm actually putting it across clearly, I probably aren't. This is the unfortunate thing, because the demigods, or those that are part of the matrix, will be more... They will use their information and their knowledge and their studying of the human being. They would use my words much clearer than me, probably. Or even if it doesn't matter, they will still be using my words. And basically, that's how they survive, but also that gets them closer to creating a cyborg reality where they have complete dominance of the human mind and the human body. So therefore they can keep ciphering this energy from them, but also because I don't understand, but they are a dying species, and because of this, they are, what we're told, they are obsessed with the idea that the human being isn't a dying species, so they want to understand how to be like the humans so that they can take the humanity from a human for themselves, so that they don't die, and in the process they don't care if the human race dies. And in fact, they may even try to make both those things happen. In other words, to where they get longevity and they don't become extinct. So they're kind of like chasing the fountain of youth or immortality that they think a human being has, because the human race and the spiritual aspect of a human being, theoretically speaking, should be connected to creation. So therefore, theoretically speaking, it should be able to go on. Of course, as a human being, I'm conditioned to think that I'm extremely limited, that I'm always fearful of death, which is true, and they create illnesses and disease in your body so that you are very conscious of death, so you don't see yourself as a spiritual human being, much less as a human being that has any control over your mind or your body while you're living. You do feel very much at the mercy of the elements, at the environment, and and psychologically you're never really happy. And that, of course, is how they keep control of my mind. And when I turn on the computer, that is total transhumanism, because I'm transferring indirectly with the advanced technology, which I don't understand, even though I can consciously see that what I've thought of is being transferred onto the screen and onto the internet computer spider's web system, and then relayed back to me, spoken through the words or the mouths of their psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, artificially intelligent human beings that are pretending to be real human beings. That's the bottom line of it. But showing this to be real is near impossible. Even though, like I say, we do have the evidence in recent times where human beings are being exposed literally to be different types of human beings. If you know that there are and you yourself have encountered malignant, narcissistic, controlling, psychopathic types of human beings in your personal relationships, or even amongst your personal relatives, or amongst your friends, or amongst the people around you, in your street, in your local area, and even, of course, the demigods at a worldwide stage level. In other words, they are very obvious controllers and influencers of your reality. They are your power players in all the different fields and all the different creations, all the different human endeavours, but they are not human. They are your advanced demigods that use the human body and use the human body as a camouflage. They're advanced artificial intelligence, so they're basically using thinking and knowledge and information at an intellectual level, I guess, which is advanced artificial intelligence, to try to understand the emotional, spiritual component of what it is to be human, because that's the only way that they can survive. But it's total mind control and total mind takeover, total transhumanism of the human being. And that's what the idea of bringing technology in at this time, which some people call the end time from a spiritual or religious standpoint, but it is a reality that we are surrounded by an internet technological computer system that is worldwide. But of course, the worldwide aspect is irrelevant, because it will only be in full operation around the remaining real human beings that have the potential for happiness or the potential for a higher frequency, vibration and emotion. In other words, only a real human being genuinely will laugh or smile or feel love about something. These beings are anti-life, they're anti-human, and they're anti-happy emotion, because, as we're told, the psychopath does not experience, the psychopathic android philosophers, psychologists and experts, whether they be self-taught, self-styled or completely certified psychologists on the internet system, will openly explain to you and tell you about themselves. They will tell you that any malignant, narcissistic, psychopathic person cannot experience 7 human emotions. 1, they can't experience any form of happiness, so they have no potential for any frequency and vibration of a happy vibrational frequency, put simply. They cannot experience joy of any sort. They cannot experience love of any sort. They don't relate to humanity or to anything live. They prefer material dead objects, we're told, to anything living. In fact, they don't know the difference. Me talking into the mobile, a photograph of me, is more real to them than if they interact with me personally. In fact, I'm told, when I have studied the psychology of the psychopath through the psychological, psychopathic, narcissistic, spirited, expert human beings on the internet, but they don't just trying to get my thoughts here, they don't experience any sort of connection with life. They basically only have to see a human being in a physical thing. In other words, although a human being moves and talks and has a personality, they actually don't relate to the human personality or the human higher happy emotions. They just see the human being as something to take over. You know, depending on the particular psychopathic person or the particular malignant narcissistic person, and we say malignant because it is controlling, it spreads, and it combines with other narcissistic spirited beings, or the spirit of narcissism is the spirit of needing to control a real human being, needing to be seen as God, needing for them to be seen as God and be God by controlling a human being. Or, if you want to put it at a more intellectual level, controlling your mind. Because you only control any human being by controlling their thoughts and their emotions. And we all know this because that's how you get involved with the wrong people. Because don't forget, you will have their opposing forces. A psychopathic, narcissistic, spirited person is exactly the opposite of what a normal, natural human being would want or even need to be, because you will be brought down to their level, which is the level of a cold-hearted, psychopathic cyborg being. Or you will end up the same as them, where they will be an artificially intelligent, perfect imitation of a human being, and you will end up a controlled cyborg human being, where you're not ever allowed to be happy or be a human being or relate to humanity. You will be like them, where you're connected to the computer. You know, if I believe the demigods, if I am connected to anything that I see on the computer, when I turn it on, I watch a video and it's informative and tells me the truth and I relate to it, you know, I'm really not connected to humanity or to a life force. I'm connected to a dead force, because as we're also told, this is a psychological fact, that psychopaths operate in the death instinct, whereas normal human beings operate in the life instinct. That means that psychopaths, everything they do leans towards something dead and making things dead, because they don't relate to life, whereas a human being relates to life naturally, or should relate to life. Unless you are interacting with a psychopath that you think is life, then of course you're under mind control. You're basically operating at a frequency and vibration or at an emotional level with something and someone that is not suitable for you. It will destroy you. Their death instinct will destroy your life instinct. That's the whole purpose. And then of course they have control, which is their main priority. All psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, personality disordered human beings, we're told, their main perspective, their main goal, that their perspective is they must have control. Their goal is ultimate control of any human that they set their sights on. Any human in their environment. And if they can't do it at a personal level, then they set up the staged system around you to control you. Because when I became aware that I was surrounded by a lot of psychopathically disordered types of humans, in other words, I knew that they were destructive to other human beings at a psychological level, and at a very devastatingly physical level too, I might add. Because this was my observation, I became fearful, but I also became on guard. So I'm like, I will just limit my interactions and try to look for this, make sure that I am only talking to a real human. Of course, as soon as I realised this, I started to realise that there wasn't very many real human beings in the area. So naturally then, that's when they decided that they would have to come out of the woodwork and show that they were all connected, because this is part of a bigger matrix, a bigger thing than when you realise that they are actually, many of them have these communities set in place all along, which are out in the open. Like if you have an open neighbourhood watch, if you have an open police department, if you have an open any department that operates with some sort of authority or potential control over you, or even just necessary services that you will need. All these systems around you where your needs have to be serviced by these systems. I need food, clothing and shelter. They're the necessities of my human life. I was told this when I was a child in school, even though schools are largely matrix programs, as we know. Well, we know that anyway. It's just that we think they're a city program or a country program that's designed to educate you so that you can do better in the country or city where you are, so that you have a better life. In reality, it will offer you usually to have those needs met, but the price of that will be that you will be under total control and that you will have to serve that city system. If you are a more advanced human being than me, or are more aware, or have become aware earlier and where you might have connected with some of your own kind, or a real human in other words, the city patrol control system and even its mind control education system will not work probably as much against you. You will still be part of it, but if you can still find some happiness, in other words, any human being basically, that can raise their frequency and vibration and find some happiness, some joy, some, contentment, whatever, you are still doing what you meant to do as a human, and you're on top of the city matrix, or on top of, you're just living your life to the best of your ability, and that's all you can do. But either way, I forgot to mention that, you can find this information through the demigods, unfortunately. When I say unfortunately, because the truth will be the major weapon against the human mind. Because like I say, if you get the truth about, perhaps the truth that you're a human being and you were created by a natural creator God, but if you're getting that truth spoken to you by the God of Earth, which is an artificially intelligent, technical being that is really about keeping itself God of Earth, that type of thing, but it tells you that you're a real human being. In other words, it's simulating being an advocate or a disciple of the God of creation, where it's really the one that was segregated from creation and then interacted and intercepted humanity and took over the human mind a long, long, long time ago. From a religious standpoint, this is the interaction or the interception of the original man and woman by the serpent god, or by the snake in the Garden of Eden, or by the artificially intelligent, once admired and worshipped God or demigod that was created by the natural God of creation. So all the biblical stories, all the religious stories of Earth about the different gods, it's just different interpretations of a story or a kind of it's like it may not be the way I visualize it, because I might visualize particular gods or original settings and how the earth should or would have been, and even how it is now. So I might imagine those things to be different to what they actually were. But the actual idea, the concept of being taken over or being seduced, because you can be taken over, against your will, where they take over your mind and your body through microchips and technology, the internet that goes through the air, the just the ideas, even just a mindset. If you are conditioned to think that, if you're conditioned to believe things that are not true, if the information you get about what's around you, if the information you get about even the world in general is not really 100% the facts. In other words, if you're only getting one side of the story, you're not getting the truth. So that's mind control. So you're not really operating the way you really should as a human being. And how can you, when it's all about mind control? It's all about you not realizing what you are, and that you have been taken over and intercepted by a different species, a different class of beings in human form, but also that your whole reality and your concept of everything around you is also being totally controlled. And they're using everything that is really human to control that. That's the thing that I find difficult to understand, but also difficult to accept, but also very, very distressing, because basically there are a lot of humanity is basically connected to creation, but even if it isn't, creation is still something that, or humanity is still something that they're trying to use. They see human beings as creation or creators, which they are. Most of what you see that is created in the world is from the mind of a human being, but it will be only put into operation through the demigods. It's a bit like in the local area where I am, I'm not seen as a creator. But the little things that I do, the little human things, everyone else in the area will imitate and put into practice in a more ostentatious manner, to where they're seen as the work people. If they see me doing little things, just, you know, when no one's watching, even though of course they're watching because they're always stalking, patrolling, but you haven't got like an audience, and you haven't got any other real humans watching. You've only got these different species. This is how you know this, because you know that when they, like, I could use so many examples of minute, simple little things that take place over the years here in the area where I am. Like, for instance, this is just a very simple example, and you might find it pathetical, but like, because I don't have any animals of my own because they've all been taken from me. When I walk through the park just down the end of the corner here, and it's a really hot day, I'll turn the tap on so that the birds or the dogs can get a drink. And in the past, I would sometimes, if I found a bowl, put it under the tap so that there's water there always for the dogs. And, you know, of course, everyone in Leichhardt walks a dog. They may not be human, but they have to be seen as human, so they all have animals. Now, whether these animals are also controlled and part of, shall we say, a matrix, that's another level which I can't go into because it's beyond my conception. I have been told this, and certainly I see that the human beings are not real. So it's also possible that the animals are technologically controlled. They certainly can be implanted or microchipped, as they legally are in this area anyway. It's just that, does that microchip also entail the powers that be, you know, the advanced scientists and the elite controllers of Earth, whatever or whoever you may think they may be, using those microchips to control the animals so that they can control and influence the human beings. I know that my liking of animals is often used against me to elicit distressing negative emotions so that I'm kept under control. I have used examples of this, and I could use many. But that's just one aspect of them keeping your mood low at their level, so they have more control over your mind, and therefore they keep their reality, because human thought creates reality. Human thought at its higher level can contribute to reality. But these beings also, if you take the Dark City Matrix movies, that type of thing, as full truth, these are concepts that I believe in, but experience only at a smaller level. So I don't experience being able to create with my mind, or even seeing that these beings are using or could be using the power of their mind to control my mind, to control the reality. That type of thing. but I do believe these theories and these ideas. But I don't see, whereas I do see the reality of their total control, human mind control system around me. In other words, I see that everyone is basically a community set up patroller, that they're using 100% surveillance on human beings, which they openly have in some countries in the world, I am told anyway. So it's just that in Australia we have a total surveillance system. It's just that it's not openly shown or acknowledged, but it's in operation by everyone, or by most people agree to it, because they are cyborg, psychopathic type humans that not only are a different species, but they want that reality because they don't experience human emotions the way humans do, so they don't have a loss. It's only a human being that is losing by this cyborg reality and by this surveillance system, because it's only a human being, as the experts will tell you, a psychopath or a narcissistic, paranoid human being, any that have these very advanced, completely takeover mind disorders. They're regarded as a disorder. They're regarded as a mental illness. But they are really not a mental illness. They really are the person. They're really a different species in a human body. That's the main difference that isn't quite as much expressed. Or in other words, even an artificially intelligent human being is the equivalent of a psychopathic, totally machine being. Okay, so because it's all about just their control, their survival. They don't relate to human life, and they don't have any reason to relate apart from the reason of imitation, suppression and control, and getting their needs met, getting their longevity, their survival. It's much more advanced than that, because it is about total mind takeover for the total survival of their entire species. Whereas we're led to believe, or I've been led to believe, that it's just personal psychopaths that do this on personal human beings because they're mentally disordered or something. This is not the case. It's totally different species in a human body. We are told that you can clone a human being and all these various things. We just are not openly told that they do these things. And also we're not openly... The main reason that I am limited is because I'm in the dark. I'm in dark city. I'm in a dark city. In other words, I'm not given the full information. I'm not given the truth. I have to find it out for myself, and even as I find it out, then they suppress you more. They isolate you more from other real human beings so that you don't have a combined higher frequency and vibration to receive or to give out, and they are combined consciously and openly in some ways, but also secretly, where they, because if you have like a whole area where you have many 100,000 people surrounding one or two real human beings, and even those two human beings are probably segregated and separated from one another, as is my case, and they surround you and suppress you with negative frequencies and vibrations daily. In other words, to where you're always surrounded by negative sounds. Sound is a frequency and vibration. And you're always surrounded by suppressing, stalking, patrolling civilians. That's a negative frequency and vibration. And you never have a moment to where you have enough contemplation even, or peace of mind, to where you can get your thoughts going. Plane going over the roof as I speak. This is the only time that... Am I still recording here? I am. That's very good. I'm surprised that I'm being allowed to keep recording, because I am on a roll here, and it's just that it's very hard to get all these ideas which are really the reality, because like I say, the truth and the information has been, or the full truth and the full information, not only has been hidden from me, but even when you get it, you're not fully aware of it, because I'm under limited mind control, because I still see myself as a suppressed human being. I know that I should be able to heal my body from sickness and any disease, but instead it's racked with pain. Even though I know that even a year or two ago I could do this a little bit, but that's because they're negative energies that are all around me. When you're surrounded by negative sight and sound, in other words, negative people all around you, patrolling, stalking and watching you all the time, and giving off this negative energy, whether it be through the use of sight or through the use of sound at you. If all the cars have bright, blinding headlights in your eyes, if they're always making aggressive noises as they pull in and out in front of you all along your small distance that you may be walking just down the main street here, all this is designed to keep me, even though I'm aware that I should be able to heal my body and even my mind, because it starts in the mind. Because if I'm at a higher frequency and vibration, or in other words, if I'm happy, I won't even get sick. This I know to be true. If I was happy, I would not get sick or ill. But when they make you unhappy, low frequency and vibration, then they have the potential with their direct energy weapons at you, and even just the negative energy that comes from these beings. Because don't forget that negative human beings, psychopathic human beings, give off a negative energy, because all human beings have energy, because everything is energy. So it's just a clash of energies, everything around, even though it's all material. If it comes down right, I'm told, right down to the little tiniest molecules, you know, like the little tiniest molecules, like little microscopic things, then it's just atoms banging against one another, which is energy banging against one another. That's what scientists tells me. I never took much notice of this. But the gap between those molecules or those energies is where the energy flows. So when I'm encountering stalkers walking past me on the street and they are in a negative, angry, disliking, anti-life energy in their thoughts against me as they go past, and in their actions too, because you know they're stalking and patrolling, but more so when they do it blatantly, like with excessive headlights in your eyes, flashing the headlights to where you can't look anywhere else, making the noise really loud, aggressive mechanical sounds that show that they are against you as they go past. And you have thousands of vehicles going past on the road down here when I go out of a night, going past with bright headlights and making aggressive sounds deliberately, because it isn't the natural sound that every vehicle on the road should be always making a negative sound as they go past. But of course this is something only I experience, because I don't have another real human being with me to show that the traffic is deliberately antagonistic and only loud and excessive when I'm on the street. I can and have expressed the reality that there shouldn't be, and why is there the excessive amount of traffic on the road where I go. Even the artificially intelligent android beings, or the false human beings that are part of this system, will say, oh yes, if you went a block away from where you are, there's hardly any traffic. And I should say to them, well, why is there all this traffic only wherever I go? Why? You've just told me. They will openly tell me that if I went a block away, but of course when I go a block away, that traffic also still becomes excessive. But what they're saying is if they go a block away, there is no traffic. But everywhere where I am, there's always this excessive, loud, aggressive, bright lights traffic. Even in the daytime, if it's 100 degrees in the shade and 40 degrees, they will have their headlights on with the sun belting down. This I have shown in a video years ago, and it wouldn't fit reality. But of course, if you are part of this system, you don't care, because you're like, they're only suppressing her, and they're part of the system, and they're a different species, so they're not interested in that truth, are they? Only a real human being might be interested if they were awake and aware that they were being patrolled and limited, and that everything around them was set up, and that there is total 100% surveillance, just as is openly acknowledged in some countries in the world. In Australia, in the city of Sydney, there is total surveillance. It's just that it hasn't been openly accepted. This is part of the cyborg or technological computer takeover that will gradually be introduced educationally and informationally through the computer, gradually, to where, as the generations come up, they accept more and more surveillance and more patrolling and more watching and more access to the computer, to where, in the next generation, they won't have to, as they've done with myself, in medical procedures, put microchips into my body. Theoretically speaking, they could probably do almost as much as what they do without doing this, but I know they've done this. But, they could still stalk, patrol, and completely track me, because they have what they call, I think they call it GPS, where they can track people anyway. And the average person even has access to many of these facilities and these technologies, these gadgets. But if you realise that it's a whole organisation that obviously operates probably through, like for instance, you could have, like, say, churches that are really all one organisation. In other words, although they may appear to be different religions, they're really the same religion with the same beliefs and ideas, and that if that idea is really about watching, patrolling and suppressing a real human so that they basically don't face extinction, if you understood that, like from a movie Matrix point of view, or a bigger picture level, or shall we say a worldwide level, or a worldwide human level, the real human level, then you would see these things totally different. But but for me personally, even if I just see it at a local level, where at the moment some people would say, well, at a local level, you just happen to live in a very malignant, narcissistically personality disordered community. In other words, to where, as we all know, all human beings gravitate towards people that they have things in common with. Like I didn't actually realise this, but I was told this by someone else a little while ago, that even in the city of Sydney, different suburbs do have totally different types of people. In other words, people of like kind tend to segregate and congregate in the same areas. I didn't buy this, but I do now, except that it's much deeper than that. But it's like saying that because some suburbs, I was even shown, operate completely different to the suburb where I am. Because they're like saying the people in that area all have things in common. They all act a certain way. And I just assumed that, you know, or at least this is what would be put out there, that maybe the suburb where I am is largely populated by malignant narcissistic personality disordered human beings that combine with one another through different organisations, different community activities, community groups. That could be as simple as different clubs, for instance, different religious churches. But if they all, at another level, are part of this surveillance system, then that shows a higher level. But even at a local level, if it was just that you have a large amount of the population in the area that are narcissistic and need the human energy and like to suppress and control, you know, a normal human being, because they know that they can't have a personal relationship where they could really drain the energy and control that human being, because we're told that this is the personality types that now exist. It's just that what we're not, or what is not openly acknowledged, is that in any area where there's a normal or relatively normal human being, in other words, a human being that wants to be happy and that does think rational, even though, of course, you will be mentally afflicted by environmental neuroses or conditions due to your upbringing and your environment. Because if you are brought into existence, in other words, when you're born, without being fancy, when you're born, you will probably have two psychopathic parents if you are a normal human being. So you will be turned into a very flawed, very psychopathically conditioned human being, which is, you know, my experience, and that will be most human beings' experience. It just depends on how big enough you are to how much you let that suppress you. And most of the time it will suppress you a lot. It will make you negative towards human interactions. It will make you not experience the higher human vibrations. You won't understand or actually personally experience a higher vibration. You won't experience love. You will only believe in it, as I've done, through the Matrix movies. But even that might be enough to stop you from relating totally to the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic type of person. This is just at a psychological level. But like I say, if you take it from the bigger picture level, that you have different species cohabitating and that one wants to control the human mind for its own necessary survival, and that the powers that be that control Earth, whether they are believers in a God or not, you know, at a higher level you say the God of Earth controls the powers that be. In other words, the power players that control the human perception of their Earth, and indeed even control the physical reality. Because, like I say, they they construct the cities, they construct the environment around you. It's all, none of this is accidental, it's all by design. In fact, you know, we're actually told that all cities are planned, they're all designed, even at a physical level. Everything is designed in advance. It's just that human beings are just part of their play game, because, you know, like, I didn't know 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that when I had a medical procedure, because I lost my sight, which was also something that was caused by, was of their making, that during the medical procedure that you would have a microchips put into you, into your eyes, so that they can see through your eyes, so they understand what it is to be human even more, so they can imitate it and eventually get what they think is some sort of stopping of their species from dying, from being extinct. And they think that human beings have, because human beings are more individual and they are not like combined, and that they have feelings and emotions, they see that that could be connected to creation, and that creation is like eternal life, you see. So they're like, if they can get some of that from a human being, then they don't become extinct. Something like that. That's putting it philosophically or intellectually, but I don't fully know what I'm talking about. But it does make sense. And if you watch the movies, they're actually telling you, they're telling on themselves, just as the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic truth tellers are really telling on themselves. Many of them are really telling and projecting out their personality so that you relate and trust them. This is the internet endgame. And see here, I don't know if I can film this properly because I've got the remote around the other way, but see, did the Matrix steal my ideas? Well, I know that they basically steal my mind and my ideas, and they're actually telling me this. But they're saying that the producer of the Dark City movie, that its ideas were stolen by the Matrix producers. But the reality is all these beings are all combined. There's no stealing. The Matrix doesn't steal from itself. The Matrix steals from humanity. They tell the truth in their movies about the situation, to see where the human being's mind and awareness is at. They probably do that for many reasons. I'm not quite sure why. I guess maybe they have to even put a certain amount of truth out there. But I personally see it that as, you see, they always put some truth, but you never get the whole truth. Whereas when I became a little bit more of the complete picture of the truth, then they have to steal your ideas, and they have to be the demigods that will tell you the truth, because you see, they're still keeping control by doing that. That's the trick, because it is the end time where a lot of human beings, I'm told, were supposed to wake up to their reality, that they're in a controlled reality, that everything is set up around them, because these beings control Earth. These psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic human beings are really different beings in a human body. That's why that truth has come out about the reality that there are many psychopaths in the world, but the numbers are much bigger than what they tell you. And even if the numbers weren't as big, what they do is they have these human farms or human circles. They have these circles around a human being, like plane is going over, acknowledging what I'm saying. The military controlling Matrix plane is going over as I speak, saying that what I'm saying is true, that basically where I am, I'm one limited, suppressed, wanting to or trying to live a life in a totally controlled, totally suppressed area where everything is set up and staged around me, and I'm in the centre, and around me there are like many 100,000 people that are continuously surveilling and trying to control my reality. And they circle around and watch 24/7 the real human, so that they're separate from any other real humans. And they do this, they call this circle human farms, where they're deliberately, consciously taking my human energy because it gives them life. And we're told openly that the psychopathic, narcissistic, controlling, paranoid human being, that human being needs to take the human energy. It has to have energy from the human being for it to feel alive. Otherwise, its whole personality disintegrates. We're told this when I go on to the many informative videos about the psychology of the so-called psychopathic human being. I don't think I'm explaining this enough or well enough, unfortunately. But I will say this, that I noticed when I watched even this video here, where it was telling me about who the strangers are, or the others as I call them, but they're, different human beings, in other words. And essentially they're not human in the human sense. Everything that you think makes up a human being, or just the humanity of a human being, or just the reality that human beings know that there's life and that there's material things. The psychopath or the others or the strangers don't know the difference between life and material. To them, it's all one. They see themselves as part of material because they're not human, because they don't have humanity. And they see human beings as not life either, but they see them as a necessary means for their physical survival, because they steal not just the human ideas and what it is to be human, and imitate being the producers of Matrix movies and Dark City movies, etc. In other words, they tell on themselves, they tell you the truth, but they are the producers, they are the Dark City beings. They are your psychopaths and your malignant, narcissistic, controlling human beings. But they are really a different species in a human body. But either way, I'm just going to make this point before I finish. It's just a personal, minute point. But in this movie, in the Dark City, the strangers or the other beings try to control humanity by keeping them away from sunlight and water, because that does help to make a human being feel more human and more comfortable, I would imagine. It's a natural part of the earth. And so they kept the city in darkness. They actually don't do that in reality 100%, but they do try to keep the human being in the dark at a mental level. Sometimes, like in my own case, I'm just going to say this, for most of my life, until more recent times when I'm older now, for my first 40 years, I did not go near water. I did not go in the beach. I always wanted to, but was afraid to. Mind control. So I wanted to. I knew it made me feel good, but I never went near a beach or in water, apart from bathing. And I avoided sunlight and daylight almost exclusively. So I was almost living like a vampire, because vampires don't like light and they don't like water. And this movie says that the strangers or the psychopathic, narcissistic controlling beings, in their natural state, they don't like water because I don't understand why they don't, but because they're not human. See, humans like water and need water, and also they need water for their body, because, you know, they were also told that most of the body is water. I was told this recently, and you need it externally and internally, but I was deprived of that and still am. Like, I want to go to the beach, but I'm fearful to go to the beach. They create mental fears in you to where you want something but can't do it. And also now I would know that I would be surrounded by them stalking and surveilling me the whole time, so it wouldn't be enjoyable anyway. You know, even if you went to, you know, we have local bars around here, but I would just be surrounded by these patrollers, just as I can't enjoy or even just relax, because even we're not even talking about enjoyment here. You're talking about where you just cannot relax to even walk and go where you're going, because a normal human being's vibration must be very high, because I've always been at low vibration, but even low vibration is still a lot higher than these beings, I'm guessing. Because if they resent me and try to stop me from just walking through the park when it never made me feel good, I'm usually just focused where I'm going. But you see, you're still relaxed, and they want you tense, angry, and suppressed, and feeling, you know, just feeling as though that you're not a human being, that you don't have an individual free life of your own, because they resent human beings being separate. Because although I should be combined with another real human being in this end time, and even probably just in my life, but through lack of trust and association only with these beings, you lose your trust for humanity. You lose your trust in a human relationship. But I've lost my train of thought there. But what I'm trying to say here is that you know, you're meant to be able to combine with another human being, and you actually need to at this end time. And I've lost my train of thought there. I was on a roll, but see, the plane going over distracted my line of thinking. I'll have to just finish up here, I think. But that was just a point I was making. Oh, I think I'm still here. You know, I think I'm still here. It's a bit hot here. I'm surprised that they allow me to keep going on this video. Probably because, see, there's no sound. It's dark. But I could use another example of like yesterday when I went down the road and was just going to buy some coffee in the service station and pick up some supplies necessary, you know, for your survival. Now, I was actually consciously trying to ignore the planes going over my head, the excessive amount of people walking past me in the park, the little ones that should have been at home but were still coming out of the staged school, which is basically mind control education anyway, I would think. Can you see the lights in my eyes? Is it coming out on there that there's light? Can you see the implants in my eyes? They actually are a funny shape, but that will not be picked up by the mobile because you'd need to go in close and look and have a magnifying glass or look really close into my eyes. And even then you would have to accept that these things take place. It wouldn't matter either way because they can have surveillance on every street light. In other words, where you've got like a camera, surveillance system on every street light, every light in your house, every screen in your house sees you as much as you're seeing it. See, I think that I'm only watching the Matrix videos, but those Matrix videos are watching me. Because, you know, the chip that's in your mind because there is advanced technology taking place here, interprets my thoughts and then relays it back off the screen. That's how it works. That's the end-time deception. Can you see the lights in my eyes? I can see looking at them a reflection in the mobile, but is it coming out? I'm making them really big and bright. You know, almost my eyes are bulging out of my head there, trying to open them up to show you. But whether that is coming out or not, probably not. And most people are not interested anyway. You know, my fears are used by the Matrix as part of suppression, but also part of control. It's a very complicated and very advanced transhumanism that's taking place. When we had the worldwide virus, where everyone was in fear and wearing gloves and trying to keep their distance from other human beings, wearing masks, all this was about segregation of human beings, but also the actual android beings, the others, the strangers of Dark City, which make up part of the, or most of the patrol control system. Every single aspect of most cities are part of, you could say, like the powers that be patrol control system. They operate every necessity that a human being will need to, you know, to live at a physical level, and even at all levels, you know. But what I was just trying to make some point that just come to me. What was it? What was the point? What was the point? I've lost the point now. So you've got to keep on track. But essentially, goodness gracious me, perhaps I need to finish up. See, it's very hard to keep concentrated because I don't have a script. You know, most of the demigods that make videos will come across as very human, but they still will have, like when they're making a movie, they'll have signs and impromptu. Everything will look random and natural. Everything is about imitating human beings while suppressing human beings. So yes, like when they had the worldwide virus, that was about keeping human beings separate from one another, keeping real human beings segregated from one another, I think, but also about, you know, openly consenting to the administration of something foreign into your body, whether it be a antivirus or a microchip or some sort of thing into the body that is meant for your benefit or your survival. But the thing is that the androids are already not connected to one another. They're connected to one another only in their joint goal of suppressing and watching and getting energy off a human being for their survival. But they aren't emotionally attached to one another because they're psychopathic in nature, and psychopaths don't form any emotional bonds with anyone or anything because everything is material to them. And these beings are exactly the same. In fact, they are that. It's just that I have to use words to try to describe a different species that comes in human form but isn't human. And unfortunately, it's not only not human, but it's advanced, the same as advanced artificial intelligence, where it isn't human, but it studies and imitates being a human, but at the same time, at some point, it seeks to take over a human being. And this, although these are all separate topics and separate theories or ideas, in reality, I think that there is a lot more real necessary survival involved here at a big scale, or at a worldwide Earth level. And the main bottom line of this, or the main reason behind this, is about trying to understand and control the human mind, understand and control the human mind so that it can survive, even though this will be at the expense of the human mind, or the real human mind, or human beings. That's the only problem. Because, if you are trapped in a suppressed, psychopathic, negative reality around you, surrounded by these beings that need to control your mind and need to control your frequency and vibration so that they can survive, that means that I can't live as a real human being. So I'm kept away from the light and the water, which are part of necessary for my survival. And I'm surrounded by these negative energy beings all the time. So I can't live. But they're getting my energy and trying to understand, you could say, the human soul or the human mind. All the same thing, I think. If you want to be more spiritual, you say the human soul or the human psyche, or that which is more eternal or whatever. But if you want to just say the human mind, because these beings obviously think, and this reality shows you this, that they want to use technology, the computer system, for transhumanism, for the computer to combine with the human mind. And why would that be? Because the computer is the mind of these beings. They're artificial intelligence. Everything that is on the internet is artificial intelligence. Everything from your informative, smallest, very interesting videos about cooking or making something that you might want to make, or something that, will all be apparently beneficial to seduce me to combine with the computer. Because the computer will give you a lot of information to seduce you into loving it and thinking that you should be a cyborg. But once you're a cyborg, you're trapped being a cyborg. You're no longer able to connect. You may be able to even go on a long time, because don't forget, I think that I die very soon. That's the problem. I have that fear, and that's what's been put into my mind. Whereas if I didn't care about that and just lived my life not worrying about it, or not even thinking that it was going to happen, then I wouldn't need to combine with the computer or become a cyborg, because I wouldn't be worried about longevity. All these things are like promises based on fears. But are the fears real, or are they not just programmed false fears so that they turn you into something that serves them and keeps you trapped in their set-up, staged, dark city, earth matrix? If you actually think that everything around you is very controlling, very watching, very patrolling, very restrictive, or if you don't agree with some things, or much less to where you realise, like me, that it's a totally staged setup scenario around you, that there's nothing random, and that the people that you see around you are all part of this set-up stage system, camouflaged as being part of a community or part of a religion or part of a belief system or part of ideas that are supposed to benefit, you know, the area type of thing or the city. But it's really a dark human mind control city. Just like the Dark City Matrix movies tell you. And if you look at other movies, it's like they will also show you that it's a much bigger picture. And if you take it from the standpoint and you believe in gods or believe in any god, then you also have to believe in that which opposes your God. And that which opposes your God is artificial and is a computer and is a technological God entity. And what have you got? You've got a process of a totally technological, computer-controlled world taking place. So that opposes you if you believe in say a loving God that created you as a human being. Then you have to have the God or the being or the demigod, the would-be God, that is God of Earth, because it does control Earth. It controls the Earth systems and it controls the human mind, whether that be through false information or which is mind control, or just through false beliefs, false ideas, false situations that you think are real, false ideas about the Earth. All these may even have some truth in them, but the idea is still to control your mind so that it controls you. And it is leaning and directing you towards believing the source of the information, which will always be a disciple or a follower of the God of Earth, which is in opposition to your real creator God if you believe in a good creator God. That's from a religious standpoint that I talked about there. If you talk about it from a purely computer level, which is also definitely the reality, they're really all combined, I would say. Because if the God of Earth controls artificial intelligence and the computer system is all artificial intelligence, then, that God is in opposition to a real thinking human being, because it seeks to combine with that human being in order to entrap you in a very advanced, artificially intelligent world. I don't think I explained that very well because my thought was clear, but I couldn't put it into words quick enough. Unfortunately, the androids of the internet will put my thoughts into words quicker and better than me. Right now, this very minute, I'm speaking to myself on a mobile phone, even though the thing will be downloaded onto the YouTube computer system. My video will not be seen by another real human being. But the android's videos saying the same thing or putting it even better and clearer and more concisely will be heard and seen by at least some real humans, and will also be studied by their own kind. The androids watch the videos about what human beings are watching to see the awareness and how awake a human being is at any given time. So that way they can put their players and their gatekeepers into play, their last line of defense, their infiltrators behind enemy lines into play to basically cover even the truth or all information, so that they're always the givers and the controllers of information. And real human beings never connect with their own kind. You're always connected to an android or a potential human being that is psychopathic, you could say, in nature, and secretly wants to control you any way it can and lead you down the path into more technology. That would be probably their main aim. And if you look at the reality now, that is the reality. It is the reality. And there's not a lot you can do about it. In fact, my own view, which of course the androids also express this view, because as I become aware of the frequency vibration battle that goes on, because unfortunately, until I'm given that information and piece it together, so I know my own reality, so I know I'm suppressed and controlled and continuously surveilled, and that I have no peace of mind of my own, and that I have no privacy of my own. And of course, if you're what they call an individual human being, also one that is aware of negative life experiences and who doesn't mind being on their own so much, then the invasion of privacy is a very distressing and low vibrational feeling. So basically they've got me nabbed, I'm basically, under their thumb and completely suppressed. And some people deal with those things better than others, depending on, like I say, how much you value your privacy. For me, privacy isn't necessary for my sanity, and I'm given none. Because when you know that they can see your every move, that everyone around you is basically surveilling you, and that they study you in minute, intrusive detail, that even is more, and also it's not just that you yourself feel like that you're nothing and that that you've got nowhere to run and hide, which is true. It's even worse when you realise that their reasons for it are about or will eventually lead to your extinction, while they hope to avoid their own extinction. And I personally don't know if they can avoid that, but they certainly could cause the human extinctions in their pursuit of them not becoming extinct, because they're using and belittling and demeaning and obliterating a human being to accomplish this. They're not. They know that they have to bring the human being down in order to study them, in order to get the information from them about what it is that makes a human being special. And they know that the only way they can do that is by force, because a human being isn't going to openly give them that information, but also a human being probably wouldn't even be conscious of it. Like, I've become a lot more conscious of the real reality since they openly came down on me and openly patrolled and tried to suppress my human emotions, and that's why I had to wonder why they were doing this, because I'm like, why are they doing this to someone? Because this was obviously before I decided to talk into the mobile about it. Not that it makes any difference if I talk into the mobile or don't, because no one listens, but no one hears it. You know that. The only person that watches my video is me. And if someone does, maybe they wouldn't be interested, or maybe they're, not in that state of conspiracy theory awareness, shall we say, because really every conspiracy, the only conspiracy is being conned that there are no conspiracies, when everything is about a human mind conspiracy, about trying to mind control a human being by hiding the fact that there is a conspiracy, because a conspiracy simply means that you have more than one human being combined. And when you have a whole city almost combined, or large numbers of people combined, conspiring to patrol and bring down the mind or the mental happiness of a human being, that is a human conspiracy. So the only conspiracy is the conspiracy that human beings are being conned, that there aren't conspiracies, or that not all conspiracies are actually real. Whereas there's a lot more conspiracies going on than what some of us realise. As they say, how deep does the conspiracy rabbit hole go? How deep are the lies? How much deception is there? As you, or at least as I've experienced over the last number of years, the conspiracy and the deception around myself has become not so much deeper, but it's been more about why. Because the minute I became aware of the psychopathic nature of many humans around me, they became aware of this, because I foolishly expressed this. But I didn't know that I was expressing it to psychopaths. So that's like letting a psychopath know that you know they're a psychopath. That's like letting a killer know that they know that you know they're a killer. So therefore the only way that they avoid prosecution or, being exposed is to, get rid of you somehow, or suppress you to where no one will help you, to where you're isolated and surrounded by psychopaths, and they can slowly just bring you down at a physical level. Because like I say, if you're at low frequency and vibration, it will affect your body, and eventually your body will become sick and die. And that is their slow kill, which is also what I was told they were doing to me when I looked into the targeted individuals program that is waged against these individuals, even though many people think that this is all imaginitis and that no such programs exist, and that all human beings who think they are being surveilled and stalked and patrolled are paranoid. Whereas in reality, these are psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, paranoid beings that are paranoid about human beings waking up to the reality that they are being totally controlled in their environment around them. if you want to put it at a more advanced level, or at a worldly level, shall we say. But it is the reality. And it's just a matter of how much you believe these systems are about controlling you. And if you don't feel that you're controlled yourself, that doesn't mean that you're not being controlled. It doesn't mean because you don't mind a certain amount of surveillance. It doesn't mean because you want to have a cyborg future. It doesn't mean that that isn't a deliberate setup for you. You may actually think that these things are your own choice. And to some small extent, they are. But just because you know you have a choice, if you're seduced, if you're coerced, if you believe something is better for you, of course you're going to go along with it. Of course you're going to want it. Of course you're going to want. Many people, I was told a few years ago, this was my fear. I was like, I've got to stop, anyone that, well, obviously I'm doing it for my own survival, because unless I actually care about someone, in other words, let's be blunt here, unless you actually have someone close that you care about, you're not going to tell someone that they should avoid becoming a cyborg. That means where you're totally controlled by a computer, or where you think that the computer world is a better one. I know that we have the false natural earth saving the natural world scenario going on now. We've got to save the planet, when it probably isn't even a planet. In other words, and I cannot say this 100%, but I certainly lean and would prefer to believe, but it doesn't matter whether it's a planet or not, because the planet is still covered by the internet controlling spider's web computer system. But I personally, even though I don't think about it a lot, like the snow globe, and think and feel myself that I am literally closed in, that there is not a lot above the clouds, and that most of what I think is the world, the globe, the space, and all that's out there makes me feel small. But most of it is information. I've never seen it. I've never been into space. I haven't even been up in an aeroplane. How do I know if I travel in one direction whether I'm on a ball or on a flat surface? I always feel that there's not a lot above the clouds, and that basically that is part of the delusion to make a human being feel very small, and not only small, but as though you're lost and you're insignificant, and therefore you should succumb to guidance and control, or something like that. But whichever way you look at it, it doesn't make you feel connected to yourself, that you're anything, and it doesn't make you want to be spiritual. It doesn't make you want to be connected to God. Now, even if you don't believe in God and spiritual and these things, because I've certainly been alienated from all these things most of my time on earth, it's still about you not accepting yourself at a psychological level. So sometimes when you just accept yourself at a psychological level and are at peace with yourself, or you accept, or at least you're still striving to find some sort of higher frequency and vibration, or you're still seeing something good in life, you're still able to smile at something, that is alien to everything that's around me from what I can see. So I have to say, why is this? But also, if I was just doing that, that is still being connected to yourself. And if you believe in something higher, then that means you are still connected to your God. But many will think that being connected to the computer system and to android beings and to android preachers and android philosophers, anyone that appears to be speaking the truth or helping or benefiting them is actually connected to the artificial earth god, which will simulate being what you should be connected to, or to your original natural creator god. The earth god will pretend to be the original natural creator god. So that's the same as, you know, the creator being that came to earth. Some call this the Christ. The Jesus Christ was a creator God that came to earth to create more life, more human life, or more creator life, because like I say, there's different human beings, different human species. This being knew this, because if you are being outnumbered by the artificial life or the psychopathic life, then you need to keep your own spiritual vibration going on earth. You must have more human life. This is the problem, I think, but it just but also if human beings are suppressed and in the dark, that's just another view. So that's like saying the Christ or the Christ being came to create more life, and also to, I suppose, inform other real life of what the situation is. In other words, to inform other real life that they are real life and that they're surrounded by non-life, and that the earth is a non-life reality controlled by non-life serving a technical God entity. That type of thing, and that's the best I can do it. So the plane is going over as I speak, and it is dark and late, but the plane, the plane just went over, but don't know if I should show that plane or not. I might will another plane come over to oblige in just showing that the planes surveil over the roof. It's dark and late, and the Matrix Street has gone quiet, will not expose itself at this given moment. Oh, wait on, yes, there is a patroller, see? Can you see that? There is actually a patroller that come up from the side and is going to walk in front of me. See, this is a patroller. That's just that you always have to have at least one stalking android around, but I can't show this because it won't come out. But that person, you know, they just come. I can't show it, but they're just lurking around in front. I might just wait for a surveillance plane to go over my head here, and see how there's a light down there. That's a stalking, patrolling, patrol vehicle just down the end there. See that bright light? That's the back lights of a car. See there? Can you see it? I could go down and show it, but I'm not going to, because that makes the the artificially intelligent control community around me literally makes them, you have to play it quiet, but they know that I'm here anyway. But can you see that bright light? So that's just that's in my line of sight. See, although the mobile won't pick that up, as soon as I come out, I have those bright tail lights on a stationary, stalked parked car that doesn't belong in the street, just waiting there watching. That's just to let you know that you're under continual surveillance. It's psychological, spiritual warfare, or just human mind control warfare, if you want to put it at a more real level. I try to relate religion and spirituality into things, because I think they are all still part of the truth. Because if you have powers that be, or even, and these powers that be worship a particular entity or a particular belief system, that is a religion. You know, ideas and rules and how you think the world should be and how you think people should be is a belief system, so it's a religion. They're just different words using, I think, to me, it doesn't matter, it's all the same thing. See how that, can you see that bright light there? That's a stalking vehicle, because they're playing possum, but I can still see that is, you know, because who sits, everywhere I go you have these cars parked where these androids sit in their cars with their bright headlights beaming at you. They know that you can see them wherever you look. See, that's where I'm looking. But if I was looking somewhere else, another car or another person, see how that stalker just disappeared that was over there? They've just disappeared and went into the house. That's because all the stalkers or the patrollers, it's all part of a system. They're actually all combined. That's the funny thing about it. I have to be careful because, you know, the neighbours are all in this human mind control system around, whether they're actually under mind control themselves or whether they, you know, are consciously part of it. They are consciously part of it. I can see that many are consciously part of it. But sometimes they use unconscious androids or unconscious malignant narcissistic people to do their bidding for them. Because if you plonked any human being in a whole suburb where most of the suburb are covert, malignant, narcissistic, psychopathic, controlling beings that have no respect for human life and no association with it, you know, you could just leave them to run wild, and chaotically they would automatically suppress the few humans anyway. But it is actually a set-up system. See the plane? As soon as my line of sight, I just went there, so won't be picked up. They need to go over my head, but it's still in my line of sight. That's actually not even on a legitimate flight path, because they never had planes going over there for years. They changed the flight paths according to where my eyes look. That's how finely tuned this reality is, but most people don't want to take it to the higher level like I'm saying it. Some people do, but most would agree with some things that I might say are true or suggest. To me, they're not suggestions, they're facts, but you can't, you know, you can't actually see how that light is still there. I see it becomes like pathetical that I have to show lights and things. There's a stalker coming on the other side. They just come behind the tree, but unfortunately I'd have to go right over in front of them to show that they're stalking, patrolling. This is a small dead-end street. See how they're lurking there? Just stopping almost in the middle of the street. You know, this, everywhere I go, you have people walking around me where they just stop in front of you. They deliberately stall. They'll stand blatantly in front of you. But see that light down there, where that patrol car is, where that light, if the mobile's picking it up, that's the end of this dead-end street. That's right at the end. That car can't go through there, and that's just pretty much guarding the end of the dead end. Oh, see this? Oh, look, patrol. Look, now they're going to come to life. They're going to show you. See this patrol car that was there with the lights coming up in front of me, and now a patroller right in front of me, lighting up his car. Can you see it? See how they always have Lucifer's bright red back tail lights. I have been saying for years now that red is the symbolic colour of the god of earth, or the powers that be, if you want to take it that way, but they use that colour. And there's another surveillance plane in front of me in my line of sight. See how this is very late of a night now, and yet that car was parked down the end of the street with the headlights on, which you saw, and then it just patrolled eventually and come right back in front of me. It didn't even want to wait, because here's another patrol car coming onto the street very late of night. See, look at this. Oh, he's going to come, this patrol car, right opposite. That's a permanent patrol one. And like to be loud too. And they play music that you would have been playing over the last few days. Like if I randomly latch onto video, everywhere I go, whether it be in the supermarket or in the loud cars around, they will play the same music because they have to imitate being a real human. See, so we have opposite patrolling in and right next to it patrolling out. See how it's going to come out, see, patrolling. Didn't live there, parked patrol car, and this is just on my small dead-end street. When I go out of a night time, if I go down the road right now, boy, will the surveillance vehicle patrol system be in massive numbers. Thousands and thousands of vehicles will go past me, one after the other. Bright headlights in your eyes to where you can't even see where you're walking in front of you. You become so disorientated. If you glance anywhere, there will be cars pulling in and out around you. They literally surround you in a circle and they flash their blinkers, their lights at you, so that you are mesmerised and hypnotised and literally disorientated by the reality around you. And here comes the final, hopefully final, military control plane over my head. And I must stop the video because there are mosquitoes biting my legs, and that is to make me uncomfortable. There shouldn't be mosquitoes out there, so I think I'll where am I? Am I still here? When I say am I still here, I can't see myself on the video. How come I'm not on there? Shouldn't I be on there? Oh, something's went wrong here. I don't know what they're doing, or what I'm even doing really, but why am I not on that? Oh, okay. Oh, something happened when I went outside. Maybe they've blocked the visual or something. I don't know. I can't. It seems to still be recording, but it doesn't matter anyway. The mosquitoes, there shouldn't be mosquitoes, but all these things get set up. They're only minor things, and the minor things, if I wasn't aware of the big things and of a total matrix around me, or basic dark city matrix, and that's just putting it to sound as though it's like a movie, but it really isn't a movie, it's reality, because the reality around most human beings is the reality that everything is set up and staged, because they need the human energy, the powers that be, which are these beings, which are a different human species, and work against humans and want human mind control for their own benefit. That's really how it is. You know, that's it. And I better stop this recording here now. That's a plane going over too, but it's going in my it's almost impossible to show a patrol control city system, because many people get used to a lot of traffic and stuff, but it's a different matter when that traffic is specifically designed to patrol and control you. That's the difference. In other words, like where you notice the difference where when they openly come down on you, where in the past you would see only a small amount of patrol vehicles, so you wouldn't know that they're actually stalking and patrolling you, whereas when they sit in their cars with their bright headlights, literally like very disturbing, suspicious vehicles, what in the past you would see as very highly suspicious behaviour, and it's every vehicle, or at least every vehicle that's in your line of sight, because it's about taking over your senses. My senses are only what I see, and as if they're choosing to stalk a particular person, it's only the person who is stalked that is going to realise that the people around them are stalkers. You know, so, or patrollers. It's like that. I mean, if I saw another human being and they were being stalked, I wouldn't know they were being stalked because I'm not in that person's shoes. You know, so that's the problem of exposing this, and or at least just presenting it. It's exposing it because it is hidden, because they consciously don't come, like even the people that patrol and stalk me, they don't consciously come up and say, oh, we're stalking you because we have been told that we shouldn't like something about you, that you do something wrong. They don't actually even openly tell you why they're stalking, assuming they were even remotely human. The reason they don't do that is because, I guess, because they don't want to resolve that problem. They don't want me to say, look, whatever information you've been given about me, tell me what it is and I'll tell you if it's true. And they won't do that. So they never actually, so you actually wonder why people seem to be aggressive. You wonder why the cars are aggressive around you. You wonder why you've got all these vehicles lurking around on the street. You wonder why all the workmen are making excessive noise whenever you're near them. You wonder why they, you know, every construction, they only make the noise when it's within your earshot. And then when you're gone, it stops. You know, you actually see examples of this every day where you'll see workmen waiting for you as you walk down the street, and you know that the minute you walk past them, they're going to blast you with some negative mechanical sound. In other words, they'll just deliberately start up their work to let you know that they are against you in some way. But they never will come up to you and say why they're doing that. That's at a personal level. If you actually see it in a higher level, or at the level that I try to and think is probably true, where regardless of that, it's about total mind control so that these beings keep going and that they're not a human being. That puts a different light on it, but it just takes it to a bigger level. But either way, like I would say, if it was real that people that you know are stalking and trying to limit you and intimidate you on the streets and around you in the vehicles, you would have to say, obviously, negative rumours have been spread round to turn other human beings against you to do these things. But basically, you would say, why don't they tell you what their beef is? Why don't they come up to you and say, look, we're doing this because you offend us in some way, you've done something. And that would give you the opportunity to either deny it or to say, well, maybe I can change something. But they don't do that because they want to keep stalking, they want to keep patrolling. otherwise, like I know myself, if I thought someone was doing something wrong, I'm going to confront that person and try to get them to change, or to explain why you're doing what you're doing. But if you just keep that person like they do with myself in the dark and never actually confront that person, never actually explain why you've enlisted the cooperation and collaboration of thousands and thousands of people to watch and stalk daily someone that they actually personally don't even know. So it would have to be where information has been spread around to enlist vast numbers of people to combine in this patrolling of someone, so that that person feels that they've done something wrong, or that they're not allowed to just get around and do basic normal things. And none of that would make any sense, because you know that you haven't done anything to upset them. But also, it could be a religious thing. It could be a belief system thing. But even that, normally, if someone is doing something that goes against someone else's beliefs or someone else's ideas, normally you will try to change that person's beliefs or ideas. A bit like many people, if they're religious or spiritually inclined, they will try to get someone else to believe in the same God as them, because they think they're helping and saving that person. That's normal human nature to do that, or to be compelled to do it almost. And whereas I'm not getting anyone trying to convert me to their ideas or to their beliefs, or explain to me what it is that I'm doing wrong. No, they're just persistently, year after year, continuing on with this stalking patrol system around me, which is suppressing and limiting me, but they're never explaining why they're doing it, or what their purpose is, or what they, have against me that they're doing this, because clearly it's suppressive, clearly it's they're not in line with you, they're not friendly, are they? No. But see, they don't want a resolution to it. They don't even want to change my mind, which most people do. They don't want to convert me to their, whatever it is, their denomination, their beliefs. Because they must know that the reason they're doing it isn't a legitimate reason, or they can't offer a legitimate reason. If someone is a heathen and a Christian, or a religious person that believes in, if you believe in Allah, or you believe in Jesus, or you believe in, Hindu, I don't know all the. You believe even in a Buddhist belief system. Normally, your thing is about forgiveness and converting that person into your beliefs and into your ideas, showing them the wrong of their ways. But I don't get anyone trying to convert me. I don't get anyone showing me the wrong of my ways. They don't even tell you what you're doing wrong, because they don't therefore show me that they don't have a real belief or a real thing. It's something wrong that they must be doing, because otherwise, why wouldn't they be converting me? Why wouldn't they be explaining to me why they're against you? Because clearly if they're suppressing and patrolling and stalking, they're not for you. They're limiting your life. They're making you feel very unhappy. So it mustn't be something where they know that, you know, it would benefit me, because if I'm not enlightened, shall we say, and they are, why are they not trying to convert me and enlighten me? Why are they just saying, oh, we'll just slowly knock you out of the matrix? You know, they're not trying to even get you on board, are they? They're not trying to convert you. They're not trying to show you the error of your ways. Sometimes they indicate that they don't like certain things, but I think that's just to make me believe that they have a legitimate reason for what they do. When they know, and I know because I see how they suppress me from doing little things, like putting the water bowl under the tap in the park. They hassle me for doing it, and then the city council, the Inner West City Council of Sydney, comes into the park and puts concrete water bowls under all of the taps, as if to say, we don't like you doing it, but we like your idea, and we want the credit for your idea because we want to be seen as the real human, and we want you to be seen or not seen, basically. We want you out of the picture, but yeah, we want to use your ideas, because that was just a simple example of what they do with myself, just in turning a water tap and putting a bowl under the tap for the dogs and the birds. And they come around and hassle me, stalk me and patrol me and make it hell for me while I'm doing that. And then the Inner West Council puts concrete ones in there to make themselves look like the real human, the good guy. And then they tell everyone else all these false stories, probably about me, to where they enlist people to be part of the stalking patrol system. This is at a real level. This is like at a real human level. But if you want to realise, as I do believe, that you're not really talking about human beings. You're talking about human beings being surrounded by non-human beings that want to be human, or want to pretend to be human, and want to extract humanity from humanity so that they do not perish, because they aren't a living life form, I'd guess. And for whatever reason, you know, I don't understand different species or the universe or the cosmos, no. But I do understand that different species can become extinct, and technology can become extinct, I would think. So if they think that human beings are not becoming extinct or have some sort of connection with creation to where they don't fully die or something, they want a part of that so that they can survive. But, you know, like I say, they don't, their need for survival will probably be at the expense of humanity. Because if it wasn't at the expense of humanity, why wouldn't I or humanity help them? If I have nothing to lose, I would probably consciously help any other species or any other alien, artificially intelligent life form, or even psychopaths, survive, provided they aren't going to kill me for their survival. But the fact that they don't, but the fact the fact that I think I'm still going on here, but I don't think. Oh, wait on. The fact that I guess I didn't have the picture right, but the fact that they know that if I wasn't going to lose my life, that if I could help them without losing my life, I would do it, then they would do it. But because I'm assuming, therefore, that they must know that they would have to take my life in order to preserve their life, or the possible preservation of their life, the possibility that they won't become extinct. And I guess they must be centered on that, like in that movie that we just saw, where the Dark City Matrix beings, cannot live in the moment and cannot accept extinction. Human beings would probably accept the extinction of their human race more easily than they would, I think, because I know myself, I'm only interested in my own lifetime. So I'm not always, unless I'm very religiously or spiritually connected to some God and some belief system that way, most of the time I'm just about, living and surviving a few more years. So clearly I'm not preoccupied. Unless I was spiritually or religiously inclined, I wouldn't be preoccupied with the survival of my own human race kind, in the distant future. But that, of course, will depend on how spiritual or how caring you are as a human being too. I mean, obviously, I probably do have some inclination towards these things in some ways. In fact, until I was subjected to this matrix around me, I would have worried more about the extinction of innocent life, because I probably would have thought, well, yes, human beings are very negative. That's because I didn't realise that human beings are not negative. It's just the reality that most human beings are not human. And so you're mingled and immersed in amongst a humanity that is not really real. In other words, what I see as human beings around me are not human beings. They're not really my humanity if I assume and think that I'm a real human. In other words, if I see that I think and feel things that I can see that they really don't. A psychopath is different to a regular human being. It's the same equivalent, it's the same reality. We know this, it's just that you don't realise the numbers. It's a numbers game. If you understood that most human beings around you are the equivalent of a psychopath, then you wouldn't. Then you would be a lot more concerned about the extinction of your own kind, because you would actually see your own kind as innocent and not, and not deliberately predatory. But even when you realise that you have been faulty yourself, I think the biggest problem and the main thing is to accept that you've been conditioned and controlled most of your life, and that although you have done many things maybe that might go against your normal human nature, shall we say, this is because you're surrounded by inhuman, psychopathic, in what we call the spirit of Narcissus, which means it's all about self-preservation, self-serving, to the exclusion of everyone and everything else. And that's once you realize that your human species, the real human species, in its normal natural state, if it wasn't surrounded by and you weren't coexisting with basically very anti-human human beings in human form, and that they project their negative energy and their negative nature, and even set up negative environmental stresses around you to make you less human. It's only when you realise that you start, that some of us might start to think, oh, well, yes, I would be concerned about the extinction of the human race, just as you might have been concerned about the extinction of the innocent animals, because you think that human beings, and rightfully so, should know more and should know better and should behave more human, whereas animals, even when they're primitive and do negative things, you see them as just operating in their normal survival mode. You don't think bad of an animal when it, attacks another animal for its own survival, or for as prey or as food. You don't think of that as being predatory or negative. You just see that as normal, natural survival for that particular animal. And you see animals generally as innocent and victims even of humanity's sometimes driving animal species to extinction. But most of that is because you don't realise that most of those which have caused the extinction are not real human beings. And then you blame yourself and the human race for different extinctions, but it's all set up really by this different species. Like I say, the problem is that if you don't understand that you have an advanced artificially intelligent type being in human form that dominates the human race and that dominates the Earth matrix, regardless of what you think the matrix really is, then you have, a false impression of what is really happening. And you have a false impression of what real humanity is, and even a false impression of what you really are. And it's very hard to come to terms and accept your own limited, controlled, and very negative life that you've lived. And to understand that it has been a setup by the God entity of Earth and its disciples and its psychopathic controlling beings in human form that are not really human at all. It's only if you believe that you can understand and grasp the severity of this matrix, this human mind control matrix. Human control matrix, which really is about taking humanity from the human so that this particular race of humans, which is a race against humanity. These races are against humanity. They're the original evolutionary race. They're the evolutionary race beings. They are an evolved race. They're an advanced, evolved race of beings. So they're an advanced, evolved race of beings. and human beings are in the reality now. I'm more like an unevolved, underdeveloped, suppressed, race of a spiritual or a creator type being from creative source, but the creativity is not utilized for my kind or my race's benefit or my humanity's benefit. It's been used to propagate the artificially intelligent race of beings, that type of thing. And they're like advanced artificial intelligence race evolution, and they're racing. They win the race against humanity by taking humanity and creativity, so that the artificially intelligent race surpasses humanity, or at least controls humanity. And that's just technology controlling the human mind, you could say. And that just is me trying to be something that I'm really not, because, I'm forced to be intellectual at this late stage in my life. So I'm forced to think about things that are not really part of what is the human race at all. I'm the human race, and the other is artificial intelligence race. So the human race is suppressed. I'm part of the human race, but I'm controlled by artificial intelligence race, or artificial intelligence race of beings, android beings, the artificial intelligence, technological control, android internet system, all these things. They're just different, they're a different race of species. They're a different being. They're a different entity. They come from different gods. They come from different creators. When you realize this, but of course, even I'm not fully aware of which species or which animal, for instance, or which particular I can't use the words, but like, I'm not aware of which race of animals is closer to humanity, or which is totally part of artificial intelligence races of evolution. I only know that you have two distinct species of humans, and so they are like two different bloodlines, or two different I'm trying to be fantasy here and fairy tale like, and making it into a really elaborate story, so that it appears more I can't find the right word, but it's more like, it makes it more like spiritual and more religious. But at a real physical level, you just have different species that inhabit the same body. or a similar body. It's not the same body, but it's similar. And that's just part of the end time deception, I think. And also mainly the end time control of humanity. And the deception is that a lot of things are being done to prevent the extinction of humanity or the extinction of a natural earth, whereas in reality most is artificial or not human, and humanity is being controlled by false beliefs and false ideas about the different races, the different species, the different animals, the different evolution. It's all about keeping everything separate and never the truth be revealed to the human being, so that it doesn't get taken over and taken down, regardless of who or what or where you come from. You know, it really will just come down to whether you're human or not. And you won't be able to tell the difference. And that is just part of the end game, I guess. And we're all part of that game. And the beings that control Earth intend to win that game, but also in their own mind, from what I can gather, because they believe that they're on the verge of extinction, and they think that a human being is something that they can use to prevent their extinction. They're sort of like they will go to any means, even at the human being's expense, to prevent their own extinction. And that would make sense if you were coming from their standpoint. From a human standpoint, though, if you are a human, you have your humanity and what makes you human to lose. But also don't forget, if what makes you human isn't important, why are they trying to control you and take it from you? So that's what I have to ask. That's what I'm asking, you know. And why is it all done in secret? And why is there always all this deception? You know, I mean, there are lots of people that would quite happily marry an artificially intelligent android person. You know, that actually is true, but they're not going to marry or be involved with that artificially intelligent android being if that artificially intelligent android being doesn't tell them that they're an artificially intelligent android being. Then you have to be suspicious, because then you'd say, why is this being deceiving them? Why is this being, or why is this person pretending to be someone and something they're clearly not? What have they got to gain? Of course, some people might say, well, they might be afraid of rejection. Well, that may be the case, but, you know, that will depend on how, like I say, at what level you see this reality, or how far you see that deception. If you see it at a personal inferiority level or just a personal rejection level, then you might still buy into that deception. You know, because you know, if the artificially intelligent android race of beings present to you everything that you want and pretend to be an imitation of life or pretend to be human like you are, you could fall for that seduction. But it will come down to whether you think it's real or not. And if it's done under that deception, you probably won't want to believe it, and you probably might convince yourself that there are reasons why that being deceives you. But your humanness, my humanness, is definitely used against me every day. Even when I try to be religious and spiritual about it, it's my religious and spirituality is used against me, because I don't know what is the real person. How can I? And am I supposed to not be quite so careful? And also, am I supposed to be some sort of saint or something, and be say, that I'm supposed to come down to it is a survival race between these races of beings. But as a human being, you're not meant to be part of that human survival race of beings. You're not meant to be in this human survival race. You tell yourself that. You say, I don't want to race with these other races. But they're like, yes, you have to race with us. You have to play our game. But then other times you say, yes, I'm meant to race, but I'm too old and tired to race, and I don't know the rules of the game. And why do they don't really have a game plan? Because for them there are no rules, because they're about survival at any cost, I'm told. And basically you see this because they break the rules of their own communities. They break the rules of their own laws of their land. The God of this world makes rules for human beings, laws for human beings, but the God of this world has its secret set up, communities and societies that are everywhere and that surround human beings that break their very own rules and laws, but never to where it is seen. And so that also shows you that these beings are all about deception, and that Lucifer, the god of earth, was always master of all lies, which is a saying that I've heard it for years, even though I have never believed in Lucifer or why this saying made sense. But now when I look at the world and look at my own surroundings, I see that it's all about lies or deception. And when they say this being, the god of earth and the powers that be, its disciples, its followers and servants that serve this god or serve this earth matrix, they are definitely masters of lies. They are masters of deception, and that's, yes, the androids will say they are a master class of deception. They will tell on themselves. The psychologists that talk about their own kind, the psychologists that talk about the psychopaths will say, yes, the psychopath is a master class of deception. Because I have seen these master class deceiving android psychologists talking about themselves. Literally, this reality tells on itself. The android beings tell on themselves. The android producers of movies tell on themselves. The movies, the music, the power reality, the power game of the reality. Every incident, every worldwide phenomenon, every situation, whether it's at a world matrix level or at a local matrix level around a human being, is all staged and set up by these controllers, by these masterclass deceivers. And then you have to take it back and say, well, Lucifer was said to be the master of all lies. So even when they're telling the truth, they will be a God that pretends to be an incarnation of your God if you're a human. The psychopathic psychologists will tell you about the human psychopaths that don't exist, because there aren't human psychopaths. They're a different race of psychopaths. They're a different race of being. They're not about the psychology of psychopaths. They're a totally different being. We have different species, we have different denominations, we have different beings. But it's very hard to see the human being when, you know, artificial intelligence in human form is a perfect imitation of life. And as its whole motive and its whole thing is about deceiving the human being into making the human believe that it's real and that it's better, all this sort of belief, and that it's usually the opposite to what it actually presents itself to be. Just as, you know, we're told that the psychopath always pretends to be something else. And this is, you have to actually almost understand and look into, unfortunately you do actually have to look into the different personality types of the so-called human being, even though you're really looking into a different species. But you will still realise that in your reality you won't always be encountering what you would think is a normal, natural human being. And that's perhaps the only thing that you do need to know. But you will still be in the dark to some extent in just knowing that, but it would still be a benefit to your life, you know, because it's like any sort of you know, seeing of what really is happening should help you. Of course, if the truth is distressing and you can't get out of it, like myself, and you can't escape what's around you, or you can't get out of Dark City, like in the movie, then knowing it could make you even more low frequency and vibration, which means they've still got control even though you know what's going on. So you really, the difficulty is finding a way to raise your frequency and vibration while still being in their reality, in awareness of it. And that is, for most people, I would say near impossible, especially if you can't find another life source. Because because I'm only a human being, so what I receive, what's around me, makes my reality. What I see and hear is how I'm going to feel. And so therefore, how can I raise my frequency and vibration if I'm only seeing and hearing things which don't promote me to elevate my frequency and vibration? How can I pretend to be happy when I'm surrounded by unhappiness? That's where that saying from what we would call an original real creator human being from original source of creation, or from God, or from the original creator God of all, I will finish up, always said, you have got to try to be in this world, but not be of this world. So that simply, as you can imagine, means you're forced to be in this world, and you are in this world, but you can't really be part of it. Or if you are part of it, it will affect you in a way which won't help you to be human or high frequency and vibration. Or in other words, you won't be happy. And your happiness is part of everything, because the frequency and vibration is all around. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, as they say. Like, if you receive bad energy and unhappiness from all around you, then you will give that out, and that will be how you will feel. So be in this world, but not of this world. So how do you be surrounded by unhappiness and not be affected by it? It's almost an impossible. It would take a very advanced human being, as that one said, as that only one said, or one of the few only ones to my knowledge said, you do have to be in this world, but not let this world bring you down. So you have to be in this unhappy world, but not be unhappy. And ideally, try to be happy. But most people need to find happiness through things that make them happy. So how do you make yourself happy when everyone and everything around you is consciously setting up situations to make you unhappy? Always setting up situations. Set up situations where everyone and everything you encounter and interact with is about deceiving you into thinking that they will make you happy or can give you happiness, when they're really about deceiving you and making you unhappy. So so even if, like, I knew something that would make me happy, if I go after it, I will be met with a deceiver that will pretend to be that happiness, and then I'm unhappy. So game over once again, game to the matrix, game to the God entity of earth, game over to humanity, and game to the God entity of earth, game to Lucifer's legions, and game to Lucifer's legions and their mind-controlling setup Earth matrix, Earth control system, Earth human mind control system. It's all set up and planned, and it's about their survival at the you know the at humanity's loss, most likely. If you look at the way they play it, and you look at the deception, and also if you realise just the simple reality that human beings don't understand that these technological beings want something from the human being, and they want to understand and take over and combine with the human mind, not because they are human, but because they want to take that from a human being so that they can survive. If you look at it just in that kind of more blunt, real way, assuming you think that that's what's taking place, but that will depend on what's happening in your life. And that will also depend, like in my case, if they openly show this to you, because I wouldn't be aware of any of this if they didn't expose themselves to me. No way. But I guess their perspective must have been, if we don't expose ourselves to this particular human being, and if we don't suppress her and watch her all the time, but also if we don't try to understand why she's human, and is that a benefit to their survival. See, that's probably what has happened, I'm thinking. It seems to be definitely my reality, because usually psychopaths don't usually expose themselves to someone. Narcissistic, malignant, mindsetted, paranoid types of people don't expose themselves to real human beings, not unless they know that it's foolproof that they can still get what they want, which is usually power and control of the human being, or mind control, and sometimes physical control. Mind control makes for physical control, and sometimes it can be outright physical control too. I mean, in many incidences, when a person physically controls you, when there are stage set up physical obstacles in your way, in your environment, when there is deliberate physical distress caused to you, when there's deliberate psychological distress caused to you, all these are, they're all mind control, and they're all, about, taking something from you. And I personally think, but I'm not sure, how different the different species of the malignant, psychopathic types of people is. Like at a simple level and at a matrix level, that means like at a bigger picture level, then it just comes down to artificial intelligence versus individual human beings. Artificial intelligence is combined because it's a computer system, and it's I personally see it as Lucifer's control matrix, and as that being using artificially intelligent android beings to serve it to control humanity. So it's like two different minds. It's like the mind of creation, so the creator God of humanity. So it's a human mind against the technical God that creates artificial intelligence, which controls Earth. And the main deception is that humanity versus androids, or that kind of thing, or basically humanity versus artificially intelligent ones, that are using that technology and that setup program at an advanced level that I can talk about but have no real understanding or comprehension of. So I'm just using words like advanced artificial intelligence technology, which is reading the human mind at an advanced rate and basically using it to seduce the human mind into thinking that it's either human or better than human, and therefore that it's that the transhumanism is compatible, that type of thing, which is exactly the same as when the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic human seduces another real human being into thinking that they're the perfect compatible mate, that type of thing. It's all at just different levels. One's at a personal level and one is at a world matrix level. It goes on to all different levels. It starts with a human being. They're surrounded by, a matrix around them, which is like I said before, and which I've been told, but I know it's true from my own personal area, that basically you have human beings deliberately segregated and surrounded usually by circles or by thousands of people in, say, the communities or the suburbs where you're living, that and that is just designed so that they are the ones that are part of the matrix, and they're serving that. And in many ways it wouldn't matter whether they're conscious that they're serving a higher God, or say the powers that be that control Earth, or whether they're just convinced at personal and local levels that there's benefit for them to do it, because each person's awareness, or even each android's, or even each psychopath's awareness will be taken into account, I would imagine, by the powers that be, or the controllers of Earth. That's assuming you think that their surveillance is all-intrusive and the all-seeing eye, the all-surveillance. And, personally, I do see it that way, because that's how I see it personally, because that's how I experience my existence. If it was more hidden, I wouldn't think that and I wouldn't say it. But many people won't see it because it won't be shown to them, because it will be hidden up to a point, only according to your awareness, or to if you maybe are seen to not be a benefit to what they want, then they will perhaps then allow themselves to be seen. That's what happens sometimes, I think. That's what I assume happened here. But, once again, I'm just assuming that. But it's based on the facts that I see, but it's not something that everyone will see, and it probably won't be your reality, because each person will have a different setup around them. Each person will have a different awareness of what they think about the people and the reality around them. So they will stage and monitor you according to your circumstances. That's what's happened in my lifetime. And it happens, I would think, in everyone's. And how conscious and aware the artificial intelligence that tries to control the human mind of Earth, how conscious that really is, I cannot say, but it certainly works and operates as though it is fully conscious. There's certainly, it gives the impression of knowing what it's doing. It doesn't give the impression of chaos, even though for human beings it is chaos, because it's everything that's opposed to a human being being happy. It messes up the human frequency and vibration. But that's only from that's only from the human race standpoint. That's not from the android race standpoint, I wouldn't think, because it's difficult to understand that that not everything is human, because as even an android will tell you, human beings, and I've been told this myself, you humanise things too much. In other words, sometimes you humanise things assuming that it's more human than what it is. You humanise different species when they're not human. You even humanise other things that aren't human. You can humanise anything if you want to, but the closer it looks and acts human, of course you're going to humanise it. If I can humanise a teddy bear or a live doll, or if I can humanise so-called less advanced animals, and that also is open to debate, but just because, don't forget, animals can't speak. So I'm a big mouth, so I speak, so I appear to be more intelligent, but that doesn't mean that an animal doesn't understand and doesn't have similar feelings. It's just that they can't express them because the human being has words, has the gift of language, shall we say. But in the end time, the word will be used against human beings. The word will not be with man. The word was with God, they say in the Bible, I've heard. In the beginning there was the word. Even heathens know usually the first chapter of the Bible. In the beginning there was the word, and the word was with God. Now the word is with the God of Earth, and the God of Earth controls the word and humanity, and that is the end of the story. Hopefully not the total end. Any rate, that is the end of this for now, and everything is only, you don't know when you're in a matrix what tomorrow will hold, because there is a lot of control, even over technology. So I have energy just now, but that energy will be gone very soon. So your humanity is always being taken from you. Or if you want to look at it, you're just being, you're just being, you're not using your own energy for yourself or for your own kind. And you don't realize that even at a thinking level of humanity, you have technology using your energy. Because even when I speak and make the video, I'm giving my energy to the computer system, and the computer system would use that for its androids to promote their deception, really, I would say. So that's the name of the game, and that's the end game, and that's the end of the video. Good night.